What's good, DMV Sports Zone? This is Noah, CEO of SportAI, coming in with another late season update when it comes to the Washington Wizards and the Washington Capitals. There's a lot of big information, but I don't want to be caught rambling forever, so I put on the analytical glasses and I'm going to provide a breakdown today. A quick summary of what we're going to be talking about with the Wizards, summary on how the predictions went that I made in those videos, the original video a couple weeks ago on the playoff push, and why Westbrook can be an MVP this year for the Capitals, a trade recap and the different moves that we've made, and the future of what I think might be the best Capitals team ever. Without further ado, let's get started. So first things first, let's talk about those Wizards. Repping my hometown team. And, the predictions from what we were talking about a couple weeks ago did come true. The Wizards had their moments, but overall, it didn't work out very well. They're currently sitting at 28-34, good enough for 10th in the Eastern Conference, but they're not very far behind the Charlotte Hornets, who hold that final playoff spot. The Wizards, as you know, are on an absolute tear, including a big win over the Los Angeles Lakers last night. They are now 9-1 in their past 10. However, we need to talk about, before I talk about Westbrook, we need to talk about the forward situation. As you all know, with Thomas Bryant out for the season, we really need people to step up. And we did acquire Daniel Gafford, and he's been an excellent player over these past few weeks, being a great shot blocker, energy guy, rebounder. Definitely, I think we may have found a young center that we can build around for a while going forward. We'll see what happens when Bryant comes back. I'm not saying Gafford is a cornerstone young center, but I'm saying he's going to bring a lot of energy that is much needed, and he's a lot faster than Robin Lopez. Is starting to follow the rotation. Alex Len is being decent as well, but Alex Len, I don't see him or Lopez being on the team next year. Instead, we should just go forward with Gafford and Thomas Bryant for next year. The other forwards, we can talk about Rui Hachimura. He's been a solid player, averaging around 13.4 points per game, and he's doing that scoring presence and improving his shooting. You can see he's getting better and better every night. A big reason that he's actually, I think, really could be scoring a lot more is he's not being super aggressive. But you saw after a poster over Anthony Davis, he's realizing, hey, I'm an athletic freak, even by NBA standards, and with my improved shooting, I can really attack the rim, I can really score. We need Rui Hachimura to build up confidence because we need him as a third true weapon behind Westbrook and Bradley Beal if we have to have any hope this season and seasons going forward. And that brings me to the final forward that I want to talk about, Davis Bertans. I know we talked about him last video and we were worried that he won't step it up. The mixed results. I think, unfortunately, he did prove me right for the most part. Even though shooting 40% from three and averaging 11 points per game, that is a very deceptive statistic, considering he's incredibly inconsistent when it comes to scoring. There was a stretch where he had as little as 6 points per game and then boosted it up to 15 points per game, and now back to the middling of 11 points per game. Incredibly inconsistent this season, and considering we're paying him over $30 million, that's an absolute overpay, contract nightmare. Hopefully he can step it up, but like I said before, I don't have much faith that he can turn that around, especially in a system that doesn't allow him to shoot the corner threes as much as he wants. He's gotten to a point where he pretty much doesn't shoot any layups, dunks, or mid-range shots, a pure three-point shooter, and a team that doesn't really float through the three-point line, that doesn't look like a good idea to continue to give him a lot of minutes, as he's an absolute liability defensively, so unfortunately, disappointment there. And now let's talk about Westbrook. Why is Westbrook an MVP contender? Simple. His triple-doubles not only are breaking history, but bringing the Wizards to playoff relevancy. No surprise that this month, he actually broke the NBA record previously held by Wilt Chamberlain for the most triple-doubles in a single month with 12. He's currently averaging 22 points per game, 11 assists, and 11 rebounds, and despite that, didn't make the All-Star game, which is absolutely mind-blowing to me. More importantly, he's a big contributor to the winning success that the Wizards have had recently, and he actually eclipsed NBA history as well for having the most triple-doubles in a win in NBA history. So the narrative that Westbrook doesn't bring wins with his triple-doubles, absolutely false. And I think continues to push himself into MVP discussion. Even if we're not in the playoff spot right now, Stephen Curry is the front runner arguably for MVP right now. Averaging 31, 6, and 5, so incredible player. But his Warriors team is 31 and 31. Barely holding on to an eighth seeding in the Western Conference playoffs. So if the Wizards do make the playoffs, I do really think there's an argument for Westbrook to be had to be an MVP contender. Do I think he can win MVP? Absolutely, but the reality is the Wizards I don't think will get a good enough record to give him that consideration. However, there should be enough to get him an All-NBA second team, maybe All-NBA first team, real long look. So don't keep sleeping on Westbrook. He's a superstar for a reason, brings triple-doubles to wins for a reason, and is an elite player. My final prediction for this year is that the Wizards either finish in the 9th place into the Eastern Conference, unfortunately just missing out on the playoffs, or getting that 8th seed. Westbrook, Bradley Beal, both All-NBA team members, and we see Gafford and Hachimura take their next steps to starter level, and in Hachimura's case, perennial all-star level. Now that we did a recap on the Wizards, let's go on the flip side with the Washington Capitals. Fortunately for us, not all the Washington, D.C. teams are struggling right now, as the Capitals still hold on to the number 1 record in the NHL. It's currently sitting up at 32, 13, and 4, an absolutely outstanding record and approaching President's Trophy level numbers yet again. But it's really interesting because I want to quickly go over a recap of what the Capitals did. As I said, analytical glasses don't lie. The Capitals really believe that this is a cup-winning team, and they really were aggressive on the trade deadline. To summarize, we gained Anthony Mantha, Michael Raffl, and called up Craig Anderson from the Miners. In exchange, what we lost in the trade deadline was we lost Jakub Vrana, Richard Panik, who was actually already waived anyways, a first-round pick this year, a second-round pick next year, and then as well as the 2021, so this year's 5th round pick is also going part of the Raffle deal. We also extended Connor Sheary for 2 years. I have mixed feelings about the signing. He's a small energy guy, good forward. Really reminds me of another player that's like the Tyler Ennis, Nathan Gerby type player. Numbers really inflated by playing with Crosby in the past. He's a good depth forward, nothing much to say there. But Anthony Mantha was the key. With 6 points in 7 games and a big power forward who can score, he really brings a more offensive talent as opposed to Wilson, who's been currently playing that first line right wing for a while now. Don't get me wrong, he's doing really well, but Wilson cannot be relied upon to be your top winger. You need to have a guy like Anthony Mantha who has potential to be a perennial 40 to 30 goal scoring guy, be that wing to help out Ovechkin, Backstrom, and the main line. That brings me into the surprise. As expected, Ovi really turned around his season after a very slow start, currently standing at 43 points in 42 games. So he actually was on a tear, went back to above a point per game pace with over 24 goals. So Ovi being Ovi, ageless wonder, very good to see as we head into the playoffs. Carlson as well, continuing to be a perennial elite defenseman. 42 points, 49 games. I think he can win. He can win that Norris, finally get over the hump very soon. He's, no doubt in my mind, the best defenseman in this league. And then through the Backstrom, he's been slowing down a little bit, but he's been that good number 1 center, continuing to balance out our play, and is really capable of being a Stanley Cup contending starting center again. In terms of surprises, TJ Oshie really surprised me right now. You have 38 points in 48 games for Oshie, but that doesn't even show the impact he has on both ends of the floor. Regularly playing penalty kill minutes, averaging just under 2 minutes a game for penalty killing. A high plus minus, very disciplined, got a very good checker. He's bringing a lot of the aspects that Wilson brings, but with an even better offensive touch. With Mantha coming in with his size, really equipping this team to have a deep playoff push. We can fight the more physical teams. We can beat them when it comes to grinding it out. The Boston Bruins, for example, or the New York Islanders. And we can play with a more skilled team like the Penguins or the Florida Panthers, surprisingly. I can't believe that you mentioned them in a playoff contention, but here they are. So overall, I think we really upgraded in terms of the first round pick that we lost this year. I mean, it's not going to be a high pick. We're going to be a playoff team, and even if we were bounced in the first round, which is not going to happen, knock on wood on that, but it's not going to be a costly first round pick and definitely worth the turnaround. Yes, we lost Jakob Vrana, but Vrana doesn't bring all the multifaceted aspects that Mantha does. As a result, I think it was a great trade, even though initially a lot of Cavs fans were shocked. Panic was on waivers. He's just a veteran towards the end of his career. It doesn't offer much. And with Michael Raffle coming in with further forward depth, we really equipped ourselves to be ready for a cup push. With such a balanced lineup, even Lars Eller, Hagelin, everyone filling out the back end with Brendan Dillon, Chara on the blue line, and Justin Schultz, as I mentioned in the last video, we're really well equipped. You know, we have Manichek continuing to start to separate himself actually from Samsonov, and we're seeing that goaltending controversy is not as big anymore. You know, Vanacek has really had a stranglehold on the starting position, with Samsonov being a great backup option, with Craig Anderson being in there, filling in for injuries, and a great number 3 goalie helping mentor these two young guys. We're set up for the next couple of years and this year as well. So overall, the Capitals still cup contenders, and I still truly believe is the best Caps team we've ever had. So overall, in the Wizards, pushing for that playoff spot, the Caps surefire for that Stanley Cup contention. So we have a pretty big spectrum when it comes to DC, and at least when it comes to hockey and basketball. But keep an eye out on all these guys. We may see some big hardware coming to both the teams, regardless of how the season finishes. And that, for one, is something I can celebrate about. Again, my name is Noah, CEO of SportAI. Thank you, Nazi and DMV Sports Zone, for having me on the channel. I hope that you find this recap towards as we go to the playoffs for the Wizards and the Capitals useful. And if you want to know anything more about SportAI, check out the description below. We've launched our alpha to our first couple of hundreds of users, and they're very excited. And if you find fantasy sports relevant, then you'll find SportAI is democratizing that fantasy sports analytics process. Again, thank you for watching, and have a great day.